Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Graban. I am the host of the Lean Blog podcast. Thank you for being here today. We've got an experiment with some new technology, which means sometimes things don't always go well. But we have fought through a combination of it's really mostly user error on my part. But I'm very thankful to have Paul Akers here as my guest today from Fastap in Washington State. Paul is not only incredibly patient with me and these different tech glitches I've had here, he's been a really good friend of mine and a great part of the Lean community. He was previously a guest in episode 133, where he talked about his book 2 Second Lean, and in episode 122. Today we're talking about his new book, just released, called Lean Health. Paul and I are going to talk for about 30 minutes, and if we have a live audience after my glitches, we will take live questions from the audience. Otherwise, I will keep asking questions. Paul, let me just turn it over to you, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, a little bit about your background for the audience here.
Well, just real quickly, I've been a woodworker my entire life. And, my story is pretty simple. About 18 years ago, I invented one product, the Fastap. That product took off. I started a manufacturing company based on that. We have 900 products today in 2,700 countries. 3 years into that manufacturing little experiment that I did, I learned about lean manufacturing, went to Japan, learned it from Toyota, took quite a few tours of Japan, and really tried to immerse myself in the whole concept. Got reasonably well at lean, to the point where people were coming to tour our facility a lot. Then I wrote a book because I couldn't deal with the onslaught of people coming to learn from us, and that book was 2 Second Lean. That book went crazy, and now is in about 11 languages.
Paul? Paul, I lost you. Well, everybody who has tuned in, if you've actually made it this far to watch live, you are incredibly dedicated and patient as well. We have lost Paul, his video and audio. I think at this point, boy, am I going to have some lessons learned about this, but I think we may have to scrub the launch and just go ahead and do this as a more traditional podcast that I will record with Paul via Skype. We will have to share that some other way. So even I'm just laughing about the attempts of using technology here. I'm reminded of the principle from the book, The Toyota Way, that says use only reliable and well-tested technology that serves your people and your process. And between my user error and now whatever technical glitches we've faced, it seems like this technology is meeting neither of those criteria. So we live, we learn, we try new technologies, and sometimes they don't work out. So to the 11 viewers that I see on here, thank you. That count is probably going to drop here since it turns out we don't have an interview. I am curious, for any of you who are on the line here and bearing with me, if you're able to use the Q&A function to do a quick test of that. We'll see if we get any questions coming in other than comments about me not knowing how to use this YouTube and Google Hangout technology. I'm not sure what happened to Paul. Let me try to text him. This is not very compelling viewing, I realize.
Mark?
Paul, hi.
I don't know why I lost you. That's very strange, but okay. I'm back here. Sorry about that. So what part of that did you get, or what part of it you didn't get?
Well, here, I'm going to suggest I don't know if I'll be able to edit. Well, I'll be able to do something with the recording. Let's go ahead and start again, Paul,
Sure, no
because
problem.
it cut out in the middle of you introducing yourself.
Okay.
We have 16 viewers, so, well, I don't want to give up on this. So let me just go ahead and start again, and maybe I'll be able to edit this.
Let's apologize to them too. We're so sorry.
Yeah, I've been apologizing nonstop while you have been off the line, but maybe there's some inadvertent comedy here, but I'm just going to pretend like we're starting again, Paul.
This just goes to show you lean people are not perfect. Lean's not about being perfect. It's about just continually improving.
Yeah, and I think there's a lesson learned about sometimes you do have to plan better, and I think that's one of my takeaways. I should have planned this better, even though I think we planned and practiced, things happen. Yeah. So,
yep.
All right, so I'm going to start again. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Mark Graban. I am the founder of leanblog.org and host of a podcast series that I started in 2006. This is episode 236. I'm excited that it's the first of my podcast, maybe the last, to be broadcast live on YouTube. My incredibly patient guest, and today is Paul Akers from Fastap in Washington State. Paul's been a good friend of mine and a great part of the lean community. He was a guest previously in episode 133, where he talked about his first book, 2 Second Lean, and he was also part of episode 122. Today, we're talking about his new book, just released, called Lean Health. So, Paul, we'll try again. I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself and a little bit about your background.
No problem. So, my story in a nutshell is I'm a woodworker. 18 years ago, I invented a product called the Fastap. That product took off and really went crazy. 3 years into my manufacturing foray, if you will, I learned about the Toyota production system. I went to Japan. I learned from Toyota and through other companies that were implementing lean how to do it. I came back, got very passionate about it. What happened was we then became pretty good at doing lean. It took quite a while, about 5 years. We had a lot of people come and tour our facility, very curious about how we were building this innovative culture that was so fully engaged. I wrote a book called 2 Second Lean, and then that book took off. Now it's in 11 languages. And so with the success that I've had with the success I've had with lean, I said, well, you know what, there's one area of my life that is not so hot. It's my health. I was about 215 pounds, and I refer to myself as a little fat and sloppy, even though I was a very aggressive athletically. I had just climbed Kilimanjaro when I did this, and I had just done Everest Base Camp, and I did a lot of 14,000-foot mountains in a single day. So I'm not a slacker, but the bottom line is I was fat and sloppy. I don't know how else to put it. And I said to myself, you know, is there a way to apply lean principles to managing my health? Because my health was no different a process than anything else in my life. And so I began to do that. And over the course of the last year, I've been on a lean health journey, and I wrote a book, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
So, you know, in the book, you talk a little bit about how you came to be on this journey before the book ever was a thought in your mind. Right. Can you elaborate a little bit on, you know, what were the circumstances? What inspired you to? I mean, you've lost a lot of weight. Right. You're saying a lot healthier. It's not just a cosmetic difference. I'm sure it has a big impact on your life. So, I mean, what inspired you to start that fitness and weight loss journey?
Well, so what happened was I had just completed Mount Kilimanjaro, about 19,000 feet, and then went over to Nepal and did Everest Base Camp, 17,500. Almost died in a snowstorm there. It was a very bad snowstorm. And I had achieved a certain level of physical prowess at that point. I was still overweight, but those were two hard mountains to accomplish. And I thought to myself, you know, I need to, I would like to capitalize on this advancement in my health that I have. And so I began to, I downloaded a book called Eat, Sleep, Move by Tom Roth. And that book really stimulated me to think, hey, maybe I could do this. I started to lose weight. And over the course of the next 6 or 7 months, my health really started to improve. Then I was invited to go to Mercedes-Benz back, gosh, I don't know, that was 3 or 4 months ago. And I went to Mercedes-Benz, spent 3 days there with Alex and Paloma from Mercedes-Benz. And on our last night, we were having a beautiful dinner in an outdoor cafe in Baden-Baden, Germany. And Paloma, who's from Brazil and has a beautiful Brazilian accent and is a beautiful woman as well, Alex's wife, she looked over at me and said, Paul, you should really write a book. And when are you going to write your next book? She said. And I looked at her like, you're out of your mind. I'm traveling all over the world teaching people lean concepts, building lean cultures. I'm actually doing a documentary series with a famous producer from Hollywood right now. I don't have time to write a book. And she's a very powerful and persuasive woman. And she said, no, Paul, don't give me any excuses. You need to write the book. And I had no intention of writing the book at all. Just wasn't even on my mind. I'm just losing weight and feeling great and everything's fine. And, I paused and I thought, man, maybe I should do it. And over the course of the next 8 weeks, because of what Paloma said to me, I wrote the book in 8 weeks. And here we are talking about it. And we're launching it January 1st. So that's kind of the background on how the whole book came about and my journey came about.
So let's talk more about the journey. I'd like to come back later and talk more about the process for bringing the book and audio book and everything to life. But, for the audience here, I've got a hard copy of the book here, and boy, right on the cover, Paul, you talk about transparency. Putting before, middle, and after pictures on the cover of the book. Good for you. But how would you summarize some of the results in terms of how many pounds did you lose, and then what did you do? It's quite a striking difference there just over the course of 2 years.
It's about 50 pounds in 15 months. I'm 166 today. I started at 215. And, I'm in the best physical shape of my entire life. I say in the book, and I don't want to say this egotistically, but I could run circles around most 18-year-olds. I do about 100 push-ups a day, 200 sit-ups a day. I run 4 miles. I'm in really, really, really good shape. I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. I feel more confident than I've ever felt in my life. I kick myself that I spent 54 years of my life in marginal health, and that it took me 54 years to figure this out. But I'm so happy that I finally figured it out. And it is probably the greatest journey I've ever made in my life, because it's made such a profound difference in the way I think, the way I feel, and just everything about my life is dramatically better.
Yeah. Well, and it's great to see those results. What did you do in terms of eating and fitness? I'm sure nobody starts, I did some push-ups this morning. I certainly didn't do 100 push-ups. You don't start with 100 push-ups.
No, you don't.
I'm curious what got you started, who helped you realize in terms of eating and fitness, what you needed to do, who helped you, what did you do? I know you share a lot of this freely in the book.
Absolutely. So the book is the story of the last 12 months of my life and exactly what happened. So it all started again when I came off of Everest Base Camp. I got to the bottom of the mountain and I turned on my phone to download my emails. I got an email from Audible saying you should listen to this book, Eat, Sleep, Move, or Move, Sleep, Eat. I can't quite remember, but Tom Roth, you can look it up. It's a very famous book. And basically what Tom said in the book was very simple. He said, stop eating processed foods. Stop eating processed foods and start eating fruits and vegetables, things that are high quality. Stop opening a package. So I went to Thailand to recover for 2 weeks from this trip to Everest because it was so difficult and I was so cold. It was just frigid there. And during the course of that 2 weeks, I listened to the book and I stopped eating processed foods. I focused on fruits and vegetables in the morning. I didn't open yogurt packages to eat yogurt. I didn't do anything. If it was a fruit, a vegetable, an egg, a piece of fish, chicken, nuts, I would eat it. But if it was anything else, I would not touch it. So that was one, Tom said. The next thing he said is you need to move 10,000 steps a day. I never thought about what 10,000 steps a day was. I'm active. So I started measuring with the accelerometer of my phone what 10,000 steps were. It turned out 10,000 steps was a lot. And then I really wasn't doing 10,000 steps as active as I was. So then I started walking on the beach, walking, just going crazy, making sure I met the parameters that Tom suggested, 10,000 steps a day, focus on fruits and vegetables, non-processed foods. But lo and behold, within a week or two, I'd lost 5, 6, 7 pounds. And by the time I got home, people were saying to me, man, you look really good. You look skinny. You're looking skinny. I'm going, wow, that felt good. Nobody's ever said to me, Mark, I look skinny, because I'm not a skinny guy. I'm a big, I describe myself as a big Colorado farm boy. I'm a tough guy, mess with me. And and so forth. But, to hear someone say you look skinny is crazy. So I focused on those things. And then as I went through my journey, I began to refine that process. I worked with a trainer, Doug, and he was really helped me a lot understand the idea of infusing vegetables and fruit into your diet early in the morning through making green smoothies. So I started putting spinach and broccoli and apples and blueberries and a banana into my smoothie every day. And so before I even started the day, I already had intaken a lot of vegetables with broccoli and things like that. And I just kept losing weight and I kept feeling better. And next thing you know, man, I'm ripped. I don't know. It wasn't quite that simple. It took probably about 8 months before I really started looking awesome. But, that's my perspective. But compared to what I looked like before, I looked awesome. So that's basically what I did. I quit opening packages.
Yeah. So, getting rid of the processed foods. I mean, from what I've learned about nutrition, there's a lot of sodium and sugar in processed foods, among other problems with processed foods. Fruits and vegetables, great advice. What about meat and protein? What are you?
Yeah,
why did you change your eating habits that way?
My primary diet for meat, I'm not a vegetarian at all, is fish. I eat salmon every night, tilapia every night, halibut every night. We're always eating fish all the time. We eat some chicken. We prefer fish. It's a little cleaner, a little less processed, if you will, right? And so that's my choice. First, I've eaten beef probably about 3 or 4 times. I love beef, but I ate beef 3 or 4 times in the last year or so. Very seldom do I eat it. Not because it's bad for you, because honestly, I just don't feel good when I eat it. There's actually a discernible difference between when I eat beef as opposed to when I eat fish. I don't have anything against the beef industry or anything. I just don't eat it because I feel great when I eat fish.
Paul, I think we lost you again. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, this is of the broadcast here. This is maybe the first and last time that I'll try to do this unless I get this technology worked out. It's a little bit of behind the scenes while we hopefully try to get Paul back. Normally, recording podcasts is something I do through Skype phone calls, and because they're not broadcast. Paul?
Yes.
Paul, we lost you for about 30 seconds there. So you were saying when you feel a lot better when you don't eat beef.
Right. I feel a lot better. So I don't have any problem with beef. I'm not against the beef industry or anything like that. I used to eat it all the time, and I think it had a lot to do with why I got so heavy, to be honest with you. But when I eat fish, I feel great. So I just made a decision, a conscious, intellectual, thoughtful decision that if I feel better and I look better and my body performs better on fish and chicken, I'm going to focus on fish and chicken, and I'm going to make beef an exception rather than the rule.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that was interesting, maybe we can explore this idea you talk about in the book, making this sort of intentional decision, this mindset about certain foods. I'll tell you, about 4 years ago, I think in college converted to being a diet soda drinker, Diet Coke. I'm in Texas. Right. Diet Dr. Pepper is sort of the right. most popular drink here, it seems. And I don't know what it was. It was an accumulation of maybe different news reports about the effects of diet soda in different ways. And I just told myself, I just say, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
And it was a conscious decision. And I guess, I'm not, diet soda wasn't as big a part of my life as it is. I think, for some people I know who are drinking Diet Cokes from morning until night. But still, I've noticed how I just sort of created this mental space that says that is not something I'm going to put in my body.
Right.
And it's helped me really stick to that habit. Now I've tried to think about, kind of other, kind of bad habits about, food choices or portions. How do I create a similar mental space to just sort of tell myself, okay, from here on out, I'm not going to go back for seconds at a family meal, or I'm going to put more vegetables in my plate. Can you talk about, maybe as you've coached or talked to other people who've been reading your book here, how do you help people create that sort of mental strength?
Right. Well, there are just two things, Mark, there. Number one, I realized, I have a lot of respect for humanity and mankind, if you will. And I realized that this body that you're looking at right now is one of the most sophisticated creations of all time. If I'm an inventor, I develop products all the time. If I said to my engineering team, hey, go invent the human body, it wouldn't happen, right? It's the most magical, mystical creation ever, right? And so we have all been given this. You've been given this. I've been given this incredible body. I came to the realization this is like a Ferrari. I've been given this amazing body, and I'm not taking care of it. I'm not treating it like a Ferrari. If I had a Ferrari that was a $250,000 or $250,000 or a $500,000 car, I'd be out there polishing it and doing the best things to it and making sure everything was perfect and the best mechanic. But yet I have a body that's worth billions of dollars, and I treat it like crap. I don't know how else to put it. And all of a sudden it came to me. I said, what am I doing? I mean, I've been given this incredible gift. This is the way I experience life. Everything about life is done through this body right here, and I treat it like crap. And all of a sudden it came to me. I go, I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to start eating only healthy foods and start treating this like a Ferrari, like the cherished thing that it is. And so that was the first transformation. And then as I applied lean thinking to it, I thought, really, this mind here is what makes everything sets in motion. And this thing below the shoulders is the customer. And this thing right here is not delivering very good results to the customer. It's doing all kinds of deleterious, creating all kinds of deleterious effects with the things I eat. So why not start treating my body, the customer, the most important customer in my life? I'm a lean guy. That's what we do. We're here to add value, right? Mm-hmm. Why not start treating my most important customer with respect? So these are the transformations I went through mentally to get to where I am.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you did was creating a broader mental model where I was kind of, focusing on a specific part of what I was consuming. And I guess you kind of created a more general mindset, a mantra of sorts, I guess, to help you evaluate not just diet soda, but other things, water. Okay, water, right. Good choice.
Right.
You're not going to put water in the gas tank of a Ferrari, but
you got it.
Water is I think a good choice.
You're going to put the proper fuels in the Ferrari. You're going to put the perfect fuels in the Ferrari because you value it, right? So you're going to put cheap gas in it. You're going to make sure you put the premium gas and the best quality from the best gas station that has the less additives in it, that you're going to make it perform well. I mean, I have a high performance car. I don't have a Ferrari, but I have one equal to it. And, I'm very careful about what I put in that car. I don't mess around with it.
Yeah. So I want to explore a little bit more of what you were saying in terms of, lean philosophy, lean approach. You've already brought up the idea of, treating your body as a customer. I guess, in the lean philosophy, we talk about having respect for people. That includes respect for customers. So I guess in this context, having respect for your own body and your own health. I mean, what are the other elements or ideas that you borrowed from general lean practice? Because again, I'll hold up the book for folks. This book, Lean Health. What makes it lean as opposed to just being good health or better health?
Well, if you've ever heard me speak before, I say, lean is so simple. All it is taking everything in our life and understanding that everything we do, from brushing our teeth to collecting our car keys to how we answer our emails, and realizing everything's a process. So if everything's a process, how we manufacture is a process, how you manage the podcast is a process, everything we do is a process. So the way we manage our health is a process. So I said, how do we create a more refined and effective process to deliver greater value to the customer, our body? So I started to apply lean principles and refine the process. So some of the things I did is I identified the 8 wastes, right? Because you've heard me speak before. I always say, really just need to be able to see the 8 wastes. So the first waste that most people experience in the health regime, if you will, is if you walk into any grocery store or you walk into Costco or anywhere else, you look around, and I don't want to be mean here, but I'm just going to be honest. Most people are fat. 95% of the people out there are fat, okay? And I was one of them. And the reason they're fat is because of what they're buying. Look at their grocery carts. You'll start seeing it's all processed food. There are very few people that focus on fruits and vegetables. You know, when I go to Costco, when I go to the grocery store, it's all fruits and vegetables. There aren't any packaged things. We don't buy packaged things because they're terrible, right? So that's one. But now let's look at the 8 wastes. So first of all, we overproduce. That's the first waste in my mind. We make too much food for dinner. Then we take our fork and we transport it to our mouth. That's the second waste. Then we put an inventory around our bellies, right? And then that creates health defects. So now we have defects. We start taking drugs and we start taking all these things to combat the fact we have too much inventory. We're too fat. Our blood pressure's up. Our cholesterol's off. We take so many stupid things when all we have to do is attack the source of the whole problem, right? And then we have to overprocess it by all these drugs. And, you know, it's just crazy. And then the customer's waiting, our body's waiting to finally sometime in the course of human history to have an effective life that's exceptional and health-wise. And we waste our potential. You know, those are kind of the quick little synopsis of the 8 wastes, how they apply to health. So I said, gosh, look at it. It's all right there in front of us. It's so basic. It's unbelievable. So then I started realizing, look at a great process. A lot of diets say, oh, well, you could have a cheat day. I know I watched Dr. Oz this morning. He says, you should have one day off. I'm going, would I put, I want to say the cuss word, would I put crappy gas in my Ferrari one day a week? The answer is hell no. That would be the stupidest thing in the world. So I realized the correct process is to not create a defect at any point in the process of intaking quality food. So I never eat bad food. Now here's the cool thing. I'm never tempted to eat bad food because I have created this powerful mental picture in my mind that bad food destroyed my life for 54 years. And I'm not going to do that anymore, right? So that stuff is evil in my mind. And the good food is golden. So I don't have any temptation to eat cake or anything. I say you could take 8 people and wrestle me down the floor and try to force a piece of cake in my mouth. I would never eat it. I have no desire. Zero, because I've made a clear association with what is a defect and what is high quality. And so, I mean, a Six Sigma guy would never introduce defects into the process, would they, Mark? That would be insane, wouldn't it? Right. So yeah, why, from a health standpoint, are we introducing defects into the process?
Yeah, I mean, you seem happy, more beyond happy with your choices here, as opposed to feeling deprived. You know, and I think again, you kind of clearly this is not sponsored by Diet Coke. I've got that similar mindset, or like you said, I'm not tempted by that, but I still get tempted by cookies, brownies, ice cream. That one too many glass of wine. I mean, you know, so, you know, I guess I've proven to myself that it's possible to sort of create a mindset around, okay, you know, I'm going to draw boundaries and say, okay, no, you know, I'm not going to do those things. And I guess in the spirit of lean, experimenting, trying and seeing, well, you know, do I feel better? Do I sleep better? Do I have more energy? I guess, it's an experiment worth trying in different ways. And is that what you're seeing with people who have read your book? I know you're starting to collect some stories, people we know who have read your book, they've been really touched by it, they're starting to lose weight. What kind of feedback are you getting from people about not just, you know, results they're getting, but how they're feeling about this different approach?
It's crazy. I mean, it's been unprecedented. The success rate is like 99.9%. Everyone that's doing it that I know is just like, this is crazy, because the difference between this, if you will, and a diet is it fundamentally changes the way you think about food. Food is for the purpose of nourishing your body and taking care of your Ferrari. And the bad food is your enemy. And it's really just that simple. And because you've drawn those clear distinctions, the process is totally clear. It's not ambiguous. It's not vague. It's very clearly defined. People are having fantastic success on it. And I mean, I could just go across the globe. I mean, it's everywhere that everyone's doing it, just crazy success.
Yeah. So, we've talked about food and diet. I mean, how much would you say it's hard to carve out how much of your success has been a matter of diet versus exercise? Maybe kind of talk more about the exercise piece. You talk about walking. I very intentionally went for about a 35-minute walk this morning. I'm at 5,400 steps for the day. I've got a home office day, which is fairly sedentary. So what are your thoughts here on exercise?
So I think exercise is really important, but if I was beyond, I'm at almost 10,000, 9,500 today. So what I would tell you is that if I was to be completely candid with you, it's 80% diet, 20% exercise. Now, to be toned like I am and to be athletic the way I am now, like I show on the front of the cover, there's a fair amount of exercise in there. But at the end of the day, I strip the fat off of me. And you do that in large measure through diet. And the biggest component of the diet is not the good stuff, even though the good stuff is really, really, really important that you eat the good stuff. It's more important, the 80-20 rule, that you cut out all the bad stuff. That's the kicker. Because most people, like me, for 54 years, if you would have told me, if I would have described how I eat prior to lean health, I would have said I eat really well. I eat lots of fruits and vegetables. I eat fish and chicken. I don't drink any soda. We don't have any chips in the house. We don't have any of the typical things that make you fat in the house. But we had plenty of things in the house that were not positive and that did undermine the positive stuff we did. It is the cutting off of the bad stuff that had the biggest effect. And then when you focus on the good stuff, fruits and vegetables and fish and chicken, nuts and things like that, oh my gosh, it's supercharging it.
Yeah. Would you say, I'm just out of curiosity, back to the diet thing before, I'd like to talk about the book and the process for bringing that. How close is what you're doing to a quote unquote paleo diet that focuses on things that are very natural, meat, vegetables, nuts?
I think it's very close. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm ignorant. I don't even know absolutely emphatically what the paleo diet is, but it sounds similar from what you're describing. I haven't looked into that, to be honest with you. I know people that are.
And Paul, we have another cutout here. We'll see if we get Paul back with us. While we're waiting for Paul's video feed to come back in, if you've got questions, click on the left-hand side where it says Q&A. Would love to hear more of your questions for Paul. Again, I guess I'll just give a plug again here. The book is Lean Health. Paul A. Akers, Aging in Reverse is his subtitle here. Quite a transformation that Paul has gone through. While we're waiting for Paul to come back, I guess.
Yeah, I'm back now, Mark.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't know where I left off.
I was plugging the book again for you, but you were saying, not sure about the paleo diet. My understanding of it is that it's just, think of what a caveman would have had available back in the day. If you can grow it or kill it or pick it from a tree as opposed to opening a box out of your freezer.
Then they're very much the same. Yes, they're very much the same.
So, I'm curious to for you to talk about the book because, for anyone who's tuning in and thinking, okay, well, Paul is trying to be one of these, TV gurus and make a lot of money here. Paul, for people who don't realize, is making the book Lean Health freely available as a PDF, freely available as an audiobook on YouTube. So, Paul, I admire you for doing that. But can you talk a little bit kind of more generally about the publishing process, different decisions that you made in terms of e-book, physical book, audio book? This is a lot of time that you've put into this project, right?
Huge amount of time and huge amount of money. So, my quick synopsis of my philosophical perspective is, I'm an American. I'm very lucky to be an American. I'm very lucky to have the opportunities that I've had in life. I've built a very successful company with a lot of help from a lot of people. And my goal and what gives me the greatest satisfaction in life is giving back. So we've made 98% of everything we do with Lean is free. Our videos are free. We don't want your email. We don't care about anything. If you want to learn, we're happy to teach you. So we've extended that philosophy to Lean Health as well. I didn't write the book to make money. I wrote the book to help people and change people's lives as my life was changed. So as you said, you can go to our website and you could download the MP3 file for free. You can download the PDF version for the Kindle, for the iBooks, and you can get everything for free. Or you can go to Amazon and buy it if you want. You can go to Audible and buy it. You can do whatever you want, but it's available everywhere. You don't have to spend a dime, and we don't want your email. You don't have to register to do anything. Just go for it.
In terms of the physical book, just kind of curious, do you hire an editor? Do you hire somebody to typesetting? In the world of self-publishing, which is something I've been very interested in, quote unquote, self-publishing doesn't mean necessarily you do all of the work yourself. You can hire contractors to design a cover and do the layout and get the books physically printed. Can you talk about some of the choices that you went through, in terms of actually bringing this physical book to be?
Sure. Well, I'm a lean maniac, and I try to apply lean to everything in my life, and I applied it to how I've written both books. Lean Health was probably the best example so far. To write a book of this magnitude in 8 weeks is unprecedented. I don't know of anybody that's done that. I'm sure somebody has, but I don't know of anyone that has. And so basically what I did was very simple. I don't like to type. I'm not a good speller. So I took my iPhone, because it's the most powerful tool in the whole world, and I opened up the audio app on it, the audio memo app, and I walked down the road and I recorded. First I did an outline of the book in about 5 minutes with Paloma and Alex in Baden-Baden, Germany that night. And then every day after that, I walked down a road in Thailand, because that's where I took the time to write the book. And I walked down a deserted road, and I just spoke my thoughts about every chapter. I sent it to a service called Scribe for You. Scribe for You transposed my thoughts. I took it back. I took a look at it, kind of made my little changes, made sure it made sense, sent it to an editor. Will kind of tweaked it and made it even make more sense. And then my wife and Lori Turley, my assistant, they tweaked it a little bit further. I gave it to my graphic design department in-house. They laid it all out in a book. And then I went to Greg Otterholtz, and Greg and I sat in his studio and recorded the book in 2 weeks. 2 days. Did the audio book in 2 days. And that was the process. And we did everything lean, crazy lean, crazy fast.
When you manage a project like this, when you are one person publishing one book, you can have flow, between
big time.
In the process. A publisher, and I've had books published through traditional publisher. I don't mean to bash them, but the reality is, they are a big company working on lots of different books, lots of different projects, lots of different people. And it seems like a lot of time the focus is on keeping individual people busy instead of focusing on flow. And so as lean thinkers, we realize you need to focus on the flow, the end-to-end flow. Sometimes that means a machine or a person isn't going to be 100% utilized, but you get better results, and I think in most cases better profitability by having that focus on flow. That's something you've focused on quite a bit there at Fastap, right?
Oh, it's everything. And one piece flow is really the quintessential element of all that. So like I said, I did a chapter, sent it to Scribe for Us. They sent it back to me. I sent it to the editor. The chapter was essentially done. Then did another chapter, sent it to the Scribe for You, then the editor, and the chapter was done. So we didn't have this gigantic batch work. So it was very manageable, and we understood whether or not we were getting a good result early on. We didn't wait till we had the whole batch and all the defects were there and go, oh, we wish we would have done that differently. And that's why lean's so powerful. That's why I'm a lean fanatic, because when you apply lean principles of one-piece flow, just in time, reducing batch sizes and understanding where the waste is, the non-value and the value, when you understand these principles and you apply them, they don't give you a good result. They give you an outrageous result. And that applies to anything.
Well, and I'm smiling here because what I hear you saying, Paul, is that your batch size was a chapter. You would do a chapter, send it along. You're working on another chapter while they were transcribing.
Absolutely. So there's no batch work. It was all done. The document was like being done as we were going. It was incredible.
Yeah. And in traditional publishing, their batch size is book, not chapter. So it's like, do you want me to send you the first 4 chapters and you can start working on it? And they're like, nope, batch size is a book. Now I can understand they're probably trying to prevent rework,
right,
by having the batch be book instead of chapter, but it does institute just huge delays. I submitted my manuscript for the 3rd edition of Lean Hospitals to my publisher on November 1st. I think the actual printed book is supposed to be available by June, which is about 8 months. And my wife and I are having a house built. I think the house construction, it's going to come in right about 8 months. Building a house may actually be faster than going from manuscript to printed book.
And there's no reason for it. And there's absolutely no reason for it.
It's the batches. I mean, I think it's totally explained by the batches. And we've got a question here from your friend George. And how do you pronounce it?
Tertullius, I think.
Tertullius. We've maybe both butchered his name, but hi, George. His question here is, at what point in time, Paul, do you convert your coaching style from a positive, encouraging approach to, quote, for the love of God, man, just do it type approach?
Well, I do that when I feel like people are wasting my time. So, I can be very gentle and very nice and say, hey, come on, do it. But when I feel like you're just making excuses for the sake of making excuses, I'm going to say, for the love of God, get with the program. You know what I mean? I'm just like, done. Mm-hmm. My time's valuable, and that's an important concept of being a lean thinker. You understand that time is limited, and you don't want to waste it. And so I can get pretty abrasive with people if I need to be.
Yeah. Because, I'm thinking about, again, like, some of these mental choices and decisions you're talking about in terms of, let me personalize it. And I'll just say, for example, I probably eat too much wheat. I would probably, like you, Paul, say, well, I'm not eating tons of bread every day, and I don't eat pasta every day.
Exactly what I did.
So I'm probably making some of those same excuses. And, I might, part of me says, okay, yeah, I need to reduce my carbs in general. I think, when I've lost 5 or 10 pounds in the past, and I'd like to lose some weight this year, 10, 15 pounds. I know for me, at least in my body, carbs and weight, there's a big connection there. So I've been reading recently, there's a school of psychology and therapy called motivational interviewing. Mm-hmm. And they talk about, it's people who have addictions. And the problem with change, or trying to get someone off an addiction, whether it's food or something illegal, is that people can say mentally, logically, okay, I'll bring it back to carbs. Okay, I need to eat fewer carbs, and I would like to do that. But then the balance, the flip side, so like, the angel on my shoulder is saying, yeah, I want to do this. The devil on my other shoulder says, oh, but that sandwich is going to be really tasty. And, look at that ice cream. And, so there's a benefit, I guess. This is the problem that they're trying to break through with the addiction counseling, is that people feel ambivalent to change. Yeah, I want to, but, I shouldn't do that. But, there's pleasure or short-term benefit from it. And so this motivational interviewing approach is trying to get people to spend more time articulating why they should change, instead of, talking about why I don't have to, or the excuses, which I know. Anyway, I thought you would find that approach interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if I would agree with it. I think there are elements of it that make a lot of sense. I think you must understand who your enemy is. And I came to great clarity about who my enemy was. And my enemy is processed food. Mm-hmm. And so I'm being honest with you. I'd be lying to you if I told you otherwise. There is no devil on my shoulder that's saying, that would be really good. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's on my shoulder is this, Mark. I love this. This is going to make Paul kick ass. And this is what I eat. The other stuff will destroy me. It destroyed me for 54 years. There is no temptation. So I have a clear picture of who the enemy is, and I have a clear picture of who my friend is. And it becomes very easy when you have that level of definition to what you're doing.
And I do not have a bowl of fruit that I can grab on the side of the conversation. So that gives me something to think about too. We've got another question here, and we'll go ahead and wrap up in a few minutes. question that came in. What percentage of your own employees at Fastap are now following this? Is there a distinction in different age groups that have taken it on? Ashley from the UK asked that question.
That's a very good question. So if I was to tell you the exact number, I can't tell you the exact number, but I would say right now 20 to 30% of them are doing it. Probably the most encouraging results that we've had is my wife has been overweight and struggled with her weight her entire life, been very, very difficult. And she's done everything imaginable to lose weight and failed. And she has lost 23 pounds now. And that is, I'm telling you, I'm shell shocked. I can't even believe that she's been this successful. And, one of the battles that I battled as, husband and wife is, get the crap out of the house. And, we fight, no, it's okay to have a little bit of this. And I don't know. I think what happened was, and this is a powerful concept, is if you set a good example, I don't want to say good, if you set a great example in life, it becomes compelling to the people around you. And I think my wife was, I don't know what she'd say if she's sitting next to me right now, but I think she was so blown away by the results I was getting that she could not argue with me anymore about the deleterious effect that this processed food was having on us.
Yeah.
And she cut it off, and she's doing incredible.
Yeah, well, that's good. And I'm sure there's, kind of mutually supportive.
Sure. Oh, no, she does an awesome job. I mean, we had great food every night because she makes amazing food every night. We had squash last night. We had broccoli with some Parmesan on top of it, and we had tilapia, and it was like crazy, ridiculously good. And this is another thing I always talk about. I never have a bad meal. I never overeat. I don't even know. I spent my whole life overeating and eating bad meals that I shouldn't have eaten. And now every meal is perfect because we're very clear on what the goal is.
Yeah. We got another question here from Matt. Hi, Paul. I know you travel a lot. I find when I travel, sometimes I need to compromise my diet to suit what's available on a tour, at a breakfast, etc. I understand that challenge too, Matt. How do you deal with this when you travel, Paul?
Well, I lay that out in the book pretty simply. First of all, traveling is easy for me. General rule of thumb is every time I travel, I lose weight. I don't gain weight. I used to always gain weight. Now I lose. And so I do that because I always have a minimum of maybe 2 to 3, maybe sometimes 4 apples in my backpack at all time. Okay, so if I ever get hungry, I've got a delicious piece of fruit.
And as Paul is waving that apple, we've got a cutout again. We'll wait for Paul to come back. We're going to wrap up here in a second. I would definitely encourage people to go and find the book Lean Health if you're interested in it. Paul's website is the number 2 Second Lean. So his original book was 2 Second Lean. If you do a Google search or search YouTube for Paul Akers Lean Health, you're going to find.
And I want
Paul,
yeah.
Paul, cut out. You were waving the apple at us.
Yeah. Okay, so I always have 3 apples with me, minimum in my backpack. I always have a bag of unsalted nuts with me, so I'm prepared if I get hungry, so I can always eat quality food anywhere I am. The second thing I do is when I go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I'm always looking for the fruits and vegetables, the fish and chicken, those kinds of things to eat, and I don't eat anything else other than those things. The third thing I do is I tell the people that I'm going to visit. I'm very picky about my food. You don't have to make anything special for me, but I only will eat fruits and vegetables, fish and chicken. And they seem to be overwhelmingly willing to accommodate what I want. And they actually get caught up in what I'm doing and do the same thing because they feel so much better. So I'm very deliberate about my diet.
Yeah. Okay, last question, and we'll wrap up here, Paul. Question from George again. What's your next challenge?
Well, the most important challenge is this book and the wide adoption of the concepts in it globally. So that is my big challenge. How do I get millions of people to understand the power and simplicity of what I'm talking about in lean health? And that is my number one focus. And beyond that, my goal has been to change the world by teaching lean to a country working directly with the head of state. So that's my big, hairy, audacious goal. Specifically, the next 2 years, I'm going to be focusing pretty heavily on lean health and getting the word out.
Yeah, well, that's great, Paul. Well, thank you so much for being a guest here on the first live YouTube broadcast that I've done. I will probably lick my wounds and do a bit of a retrospective and probably try this again at some point with lessons learned. But thank you for your patience as I figured out the technology. And I'll again admit to the audience here, a lot of the problems here were user error. So I need to reflect on that and think about that. But I will make the video, warts and all, will be out there on YouTube. I'm going to take an edited version and publish that as an audio podcast. And for those of you who would like to hear Paul's previous podcasts and other podcasts that I've done with a lot of really interesting people, you can go to leanpodcast.org. And again, my main website is leanblog.org. Paul, thank you so much for giving this a shot today and sharing your story.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mark. Thank you for the opportunity.